Today I am joined with Stephen, who has been on the podcast for a couple episodes. That's been disclosing some of the information for these cases for us to put them out to the community, to work to obtain information through 88 Crime in our collaboration. He's here again today, and we're going to talk about a case from 1985. Another cold case. This one's a little far out, but I'd like for you to explain what you can about this case so we can get it out to people.
Sure. And Steve's fine. That makes me more relaxed. Yeah.
You can call me Dave. You want to call me Dave?
Yes, I'm Steve Acevedo with the Tucson Police Department, with the cold case unit itself. And the case that we'd like to feature at this time is a case from 1985, specifically August 15th of 85, that's about to come about a 40-year anniversary of the incident itself. And this incident involves the death of a 29-year-old woman by the name of Debra Donohue. And a little bit about Debra herself is that Debra was very active in the Tucson community, specifically in the art community, at the time of her death in 1985. She was connected to the University of Arizona. She was a PhD doctoral candidate in the education administration field and was very, very active in organizing and involved in the leadership of the Tucson Art Museum. And so, unfortunately, in 1985, when this occurred, Debra was living out west, which was at the time was referred to as 22nd Street. It is now Star Pass Boulevard, but specifically the neighborhood of sort of South Shannon Road and West 22nd at the time. It's a small, several brick townhomes in and around that area. Around the 2800 block of West Sheryl is where she lived at the time of her death.
So we have the box. Can you guys put up the picture of Debra, please? So she's 29. She was 29 years old, and this photo was around that time, right here. That's on the screen.
That is correct.
Okay, and then you're talking about the brick house in the 2800 block. We have a photo of that. So can we pull that up on the screen as well? So tell us about this house right here, Steve. What are we looking at here?
So that is a 2-bedroom townhome, sort of the front side. It's just a Santa Fe style brick home along. Specifically, the address is 2813 West Sheryl. That is a photograph taken by the Tucson Police Department crime scene unit the morning. Her investigation began in the evening hours and led into the early morning hours in August of 85. That photograph is taken. You can even see the design of the sort of old style Chevy Impala police vehicle out front.
So how did this case unfold? How does the Tucson Police Department get involved with that? Who was the caller, reporter, who witnessed something, or is there any information you can give that how's this case unfold?
Sure. At the time, Debra was living alone out on the west side. That area itself was sort of in the process of being developed, was considered kind of a relatively new area in 1985. And Debra had not been heard from for some time. So her boyfriend went over, this is again the time before cell phones, went over to check on her well-being, and at that time he found her deceased. An investigation was initiated at that time where initially uniformed police officers from our Southside Patrol Division responded, began to take statements, conduct an area canvass to try to learn about what had occurred to Debra.
And some other information, he said she was involved with the arts pretty heavy here in town, right? Something about the Tucson Museum of Art School. Can you get into that a little bit?
Sure. We right about 1979, 1980, Debra became involved in first volunteering at the Tucson Art Museum, and then eventually becoming a docent at the Art Museum, and then eventually moving up to sort of administrative process where she would manage summer camps for art, both teenagers and also middle school students, and then eventually college students as she got older at the time. So she was very active and kind of would spend a lot of her time at the Tucson Art Museum.
In regards to the case, is there any other information you have as far as the scene, anything relevant that stood out that the community should know about that might help?
In terms of the information specific to the scene itself, we would, of course, again, the time of the incident itself, there was an area canvas. Our hope would be that if anybody was living in and around that area, that, again, they were not spoken to by police at that time, if they had any memories of what was occurring in that time. We also want to sort of note that at this time in Tucson, from about 1983 to 1986, there was a series of sexual assaults that were occurring, and the incident itself was dubbed the sort of primetime rapist incident. Later, the suspect in that case, Brian LaRiva, there were approximately 33 sex assaults that were attributed to him within that time frame. Certainly, again, not having any information linking Brian LaRiva to this incident itself, but there was a sort of heightened awareness, I think specifically for all of Tucson. There wasn't really a sort of geographic location where people had some concerns. It was sort of a citywide, countywide, I should say, concern at this time. Additionally, this is a scenario where Debra, from all accounts, appeared to be a very social, very likable person who, in terms of her associations, many of her friends and family members were clearly devastated by the news of her death. So we're not sure. We have, for many years, received a series of 88 crime tips about the incident, and as most recent, have worked leads related to Debra's case.
If we could pull the flyer for this case up on the screen, that'd be great. So this is the flyer in collaboration with Tucson PD. So if you have any information, again, you can reach out to 88 Crime, and tipsters remain anonymous. The other thing, let's go back to the house picture, the residence there. So we're going to bring this up again so the viewers and listeners can check out this area and see what it looks like. Try to remind any folks that lived in that area or frequented that area if they saw anything out of place. Something you talk about is in police is like what was out of place that day, even if it's something you noticed just it wasn't normal, right? I mean, even as far down as to a trash can.
Sure.
Right? So like when people go back, think about that day, was there a car there that should have been there? Like you're used to seeing your certain cars come and visit, or right. Things like that. So bringing that into account, just trying to remember if there was just something that was off that day, even the suspicious person that's in the neighborhood, even salespeople that come through, stuff like that, right?
Sure.
So we bring that up. So just, listeners and viewers, if you have any recollection of anything from August 15th, 1985, that might have been out of place, or the day before. And it could even be weeks before, right? With these kind of cases where you're talking about the sexual assault stuff, there could be some pre-planning going on by whoever did it. Whoever was responsible, right? So we talk about maybe even a week ahead or a couple weeks ahead. Did you see anything out of place?
Correct, and I guess for the listeners, if we go back to the photograph itself,
pull it back up again, please. Thank you.
Yeah, you're talking about out of place per se, but the vehicle, the white Ford vehicle itself, that was Debra's vehicle. So again, people living in the neighborhood, people that were familiar with, the University of Arizona, Tucson Museum of Art, they would see Debra come and go using that white sedan that did belong to her. In fact, just back in the 80s, I think Arizona has gone through a series of license plate. It was an old maroon license plate that was popular up until, I think, the mid-2000s when we went to our current design of license plate. Another thing to add is that in this investigation, there have been at least two books that I'm familiar with written by local authors that have tried to feature crime stories. And Debra's case has been featured in both of those crime books. One of them is Tucson Tucson cold case, true crime, where the profile of Debra's case in and of itself was shocking in the sense that it was a 29-year-old not involved in any kind of criminal activity, drugs or gang activity that might have spurred something like this. This truly is a unknown, unsolved homicide that in 1985 did indeed have quite a bit of attention to it.
Yeah, and going back to what you had said about the individual that was going around committing some similar types of crimes, did that bring a heightened view to this case because of the timing of it?
It did. I think it was often unknown. I mean, I think police were sort of befuddled by these cases, to include that, sort of a separate matter. But in the prime time rapist, as the investigation was dubbed, an entire task force involving the Arizona Department of Public Safety, Tucson Police Department, the Pima County Sheriff's Department, the FBI was kind of created to try to solve these cases spanning from about 1983 to the fall of 85.
Okay. And then, it's easy for other stuff to get covered by other cases in the media and whatnot. So, with this, I remind the viewers and listeners, we're not looking for the skepticism or conspiracy. We're looking for organic information for this case. So if you have that, again, we want you to reach out to 88 Crime. And do you have anything else you want to add on this case that you feel relevant? Do you want to, is there anything else in the background of Debra that's relevant? Family in and around, anything like that?
Just to emphasize the fact that Debra had been living in Tucson for approximately 7 years. And that detail, I think, is important because, again, in the late 70s, early 80s, her associations to some significant Tucson institutions, the University of Arizona, Tucson Museum of Art, sort of the downtown arts community itself, she was very involved in those groups and institutions, if you will, that I think someone who may not have initially been interviewed or provided information up to police at that time, we would welcome that information because, again, all data is friendly to us. And like you said, our hope would be not to sort of speculate or draw theories about who indeed did this, but in fact, get information from people that were maybe not initially interviewed.
All right, Steve, thank you so much for your time today on this Cold Case Files podcast.
Thank you. And if I could just add, again, they can reach out to the Tucson Police Department, contact 88 Crime, either online or through the P3 apps.
Thank you so much.
Excuse me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Cold Case Files podcast with 88 Crime in collaboration with Tucson Police Department.
Discover the power of 88 Crime, where your anonymous tips are rewarded with cash.
When you call in anonymously with the tip, you are given a code. With the code and a password, you can walk into a bank and redeem your reward anonymously. If your anonymous tip results in a felony arrest, you can claim up to $2,500 cash reward.
Let's stop the silence on crime and strive for a safer community. For more information, please visit 88crime.org or call 88 Crime.